Should I own multiple life insurance policies? This is a question that comes up a lot because frankly, there's a lot of information out there. We often hear, hey, I should own multiple policies because a certain individual recommended it, or I read it in a book, or if I look at Nelson Nash, who had 40 plus policies and he knew what he was doing, he had them, so I should just have a lot of policies because he did, without looking at the reason why. So is having multiple policies a bad thing in itself? No, a lot of good can come from that, but we've got to make sure everything's set up right. So whenever we hear that question, hey, should I own multiple policies? Or if I have a policy for a year or two, is it time to open a new one? Well, let's look at the reason why we're considering that. So when we take any life insurance policy, what I'll always look at is, before opening a new one, do I still have the ability to continue to fund my existing policy, or can I add more to an existing policy? What I don't want to do, if I'm a consumer, is just take out a new policy because ... someone recommended it, or we saw a video that made it look good, whatever it might be. When you look at an actual life insurance policy, the worst part about any life insurance policy, no matter how perfectly it's designed, how much we stuff the cash value up front, when's the worst part about it? First and second year. The reason why, no matter how low you squeeze that base premium, what happens? With a traditional product, with a traditional whole life insurance product, the insurance company is going to overcharge me for the base premium, typically in the first 2 years. Some products it's only the first year, some it's the first to 3, but main point is, no matter what that dollar figure is, the company is going to overcharge me for it. Now, once I get beyond the first 2 years, that base premium, whether it's $3,000, $30,000 a year, wherever I set it based on how much I want to pay in, what happens to that beginning year 3? Comes back to cash value. I make a premium deposit, it's coming to cash value, it's compounding, yielding dividends, gets better and better. So we have here the best part of a policy is every year after the first and second year. So the reason I kind of line it up in that way is when we're looking at the idea of owning multiple policies, should I own multiple policies, or do I use just one, or when is it appropriate to open up a second policy? Well, if I have room or the ability to add funds to an existing policy and I'm beyond the first 2 years, would I rather add money to that and get more cash value coming back to work for me, or open a new one and go through the expenses again? Sounds like a no-brainer, but let's demonstrate. So we've got an example up here, a 35-year-old male. Policy, how we always design it, 1090 split, all that good stuff. But here we've got a 30-year fund, and we've got policy segments 1 and 2, where we see this frequently, where one will recommend funding a policy up to the MEC limit for 7 years, and then stopping or paying just the minimum base premium. We've got additional studies on this, a lot of them in our different training and subscription programs. But main point is, if I look at this policy, 35-year-old male, just pumping money into it for 30 years, up until he's 65, no MEC ever occurs. We overinflated the MEC a little bit to make sure that wouldn't happen. Then what we did was take the exact same policy and demonstrate something we see frequently, funding it for 7 years, and then nothing thereafter. Where I'd look at it and say, well, you easily can keep funding it. Why aren't we? What's the reason why we're not? Well, we see this strategy recommended instead, where, hey, you funded this one up to the MEC limit, and one could just have a misunderstanding of how the MEC limit actually works, but then they open up a new policy. And we're max funding both policies, but here's the thing. If I focus on the new year or the new policy, right here, let's look at the new policy. I pay in $30,000. My cash value is $26,340. Okay, so I paid in 30. I got back or I should say I have a negative cash value return of 3,700 or so, almost 4K. Versus if I just keep feeding the existing policy, so exact same policies here, I pay another 30, what happens there? I get that 30 back plus another 10 on top of it. Grows from 226 to 266, I paid in 30. So another 10K on top of it as well. So what's happening here, I'm beyond the first 2 years, this minimum $3,000 base premium is coming back to work for me year over year. So what we did here, just with the cash value differences, which we should only really look at here through year 14 on this study. And if we continue to ladder, I don't want to use the word ladder, if we continue to demonstrate this, you'll see the one large policy pull further and further ahead if we keep opening new ones. Main point though, if I look at year 7 of the second policy, we combine the values, so you've got 225 from the first policy, you're not paying into it, you've got 305. And the cash value difference here is about 20 grand less than the bigger policy. And it'll continue to pull ahead over time if I can keep funding that one. So when a new policy might be appropriate in this particular instance is if I started with this one and the max I can pay into this one is 30,000. If I said, okay, I'm funding 30, I can still max that one out. I want to get the most use out of my dollar, but I want to pay in more now. I want to pay in another 30, or I want the ability to pay up to 100. Well, in that case, it does make sense to open up a new policy because I need the mech space. I need the room and the ability to fund more money into the policy. That's the important piece there. So, does it make sense? Should I own multiple policies? The accurate answer is it depends on one's situation, but my big thing is have the knowledge, have the resource. This way I can make an educated decision. I don't just buy one because we were told it's a good idea without any data, and then we end up finding out later, hey, I could have got more use out of my money sooner and been in a better position. Hope this wasn't too confusing. Reach out with any questions. Hey guys, Steve Parisi here. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for future videos. If you'd like more information or to see some custom policies for yourself, feel free to call or email our offices at the contact information below.